Well, hello everyone. We're live. It's Wednesday, September 3rd, and welcome to another episode of Money and Mindset at 40 Plus, where we invite you to play big so that you can conquer your money fears. And we do through storytelling, through coaching, through homework, through discussion. It's our
Through
favorite time of
reflection.
the week. Reflections, our
Yeah.
favorite time of the week. We're so
Mhm.
happy to be here.
And thanks for coming in,
And
everybody.
I'm Sylvia, as you can see.
I'm Jenny.
And for those of you, who've been watching the show for a while, Jenny and I have known each other for a long time, long time. We've known each other longer, I think,
Then we've been on the
longer
planet.
than
We
we
didn't know each other.
didn't know each other. I haven't known you longer than I've been on the planet. That just would not would not work. But Jenny and I, we've come in our stories. We started music together at McGill
Mhm.
University here in Montreal,
Mhm.
and then we moved into. I moved into management. Jenny moved into consulting with fundraising and
Fundraising.
nonprofit organizations, and we have the best chats about money.
Mhm.
And that's why we're so happy to have them. We thought we can't be the only ones thinking this way, talking this way, pondering life's questions,
'Cause,
existential questions.
yeah, I love the analogy I have, Sylvia, is like once we started talking about this, people would start like, so Jenny, I have this book on retirement. Is it okay if I like pass it on to you? Like it's like this taboo. I'm like, let's talk about perineums. That's great. Or what is that word? Orgasms or vulvas, but no
Yes.
retirement. No, we can't talk about that.
Yeah, those are words Jenny's bringing up because I have another business. I am a business coach, but I do have a doula agency where we do talk about perineums, vaginas, and birth. But that's not as taboo anymore. You're right.
Yeah.
And money, I think, is becoming less taboo for
Mm-hmm.
women.
Mm-hmm.
And today's topic really hits home. I don't
Yeah.
know, Jenny, for you,
Yeah.
but we are talking all about imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And for some of you, you may be aware of what this is. Others, this might be a first time that you are, hearing the words, the imposter syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
But if you've ever, I'm just going to start with a story. I remember I was working as director of the Junior Chamber of Commerce many, many, many years ago. And I got called, and a Junior Chamber of Commerce is, we were organizing 60 activities per year for the young business people between 18 and 40 years old. Networking and events and suppers and happy hours and conferences, all sorts of really, really fun things. And I got called to see if I could join a panel and give a talk on networking. And this feeling, my heart just, I couldn't give them an answer on the line. And I knew I was free. I thought, what a great opportunity. But there was part of me that said, let me just check my agenda. And I waited a few days and sat on it until I felt, yes, I can do this. By that time, I called them back and they had said, oh, sorry, we got someone else for it. And I just went, what a missed opportunity because I felt not worthy. But I had.
Who am I to say something intelligent from the podium to help somebody else?
Right? And I'd been working in networking, like I'm a connector, Jenny. If you don't know what a connector is, go look at our shows on money archetypes. I'm a connector. I build relationships. I was working as, in the networking field. And that was a lost opportunity. So, that's one of my stories of at one point, the imposter syndrome just comes up. So what is it?
What is it? So if you're listening, can you put in the comments a yes? I don't need to hear the story, but if you've ever experienced this where somebody asks you to do something that currently is outside your skill set and you feel like an imposter, I don't want to hear so much whether you did it or not, but whether you've had that feeling of, holy crap, I couldn't possibly do that, right? And I want to decompose this word imposter. And before the show, I was talking to my husband, who's a guy, and saying, do you get this? And he was like, oh yeah. So, we had originally thought, I think, Sylvia, that was only a women's thing. And I think maybe it's a people thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is a people thing. I think women, perhaps we talk about it perhaps more, or maybe we're not talking about it more, but it's coming up more. So I think so too.
Yeah.
Anyone who's trying something new. If you're trying something new, of course you're not an expert at it just yet.
Yeah.
And that's where those feelings of,
Yeah.
well, so what happens is that people just don't start things.
Yeah.
Well, how can
Um,
I start it if I don't know what I'm doing?
Marie Forleo has a book right now called Everything is Figure Outable. And I
Excellent
just
book.
love that. I haven't read it, but I love that concept that, if you just dig your heels in and stick it down, you can usually figure most things out.
Mm,
My quick imposter story before we go into a definition of what the heck are we talking
mm,
about? Wikipedia, thank you very much for their definition. It was standing at a conference where I was giving a presentation and actually having to go to the bathroom in advance, hands on either side of the sink, Sylvia, looking at myself in the mirror and sort of giving myself not so much a pep talk, but a grounding talk. Because if you know me, I start to get really fast. I talk like this a lot. So grounding myself and saying, you know what? You've got things that are of value for people to hear. You can't
mm.
control what they know and what they don't know and how they're going to receive it, but you can provide with best of intentions some tools that hopefully will resonate and help them be better fundraisers, better people, better managers, whatever the situation is.
Oh, that's yeah. And these are just two of our stories. I'm think
Yeah.
everywhere
Yeah.
everyone's got a story like that, no matter where or
Yeah.
where it is.
Yeah.
Go into the what is it?
Okay.
What does Wikipedia tell
Cool.
us?
All right, you ready?
Hmm.
Imposter syndrome, also known as imposter phenomenon, imposterism, fraud syndrome, or the imposter experience, is a psychological pattern in which an individual doubts their accomplishments or talents and has a persistent internalized fear of being exposed as a fraud.
Mm,
So I want to pick up on the fakeness. I think that's always
mm,
a person who's very genuine. Your ultimate fear is being perceived as fake. And that to me is real core of imposter syndrome. It's not so much even just the so what do we do to cover that up, Sylvia? We add degrees. I have multiple
mm,
degrees. We take a course. I couldn't possibly do that until I have this thing. These become barriers to actually trying things out. And the reality is, anytime you're putting yourself out there on a stage, in a blog, on a video, I did a video shoot yesterday. And there's a huge risk there. Brene Brown talks about those conversations about being judged for being who you are.
mm.
And for me, the imposter syndrome is that little voice. And I can say that when I'm nervous, particularly for me in group situations, it's almost like I've got this ticker tape talking to me while I'm talking,
I know. That
distracting me
voice.
from what I'm saying.
Like a
And
fly.
I
Swat
know
it out
it's
of the way.
terrible. And you know what
Yeah.
kills me is I don't have it when I'm in a groove, right? So when I'm feeling
Mm-hmm.
comfortable and I'm in a groove. And so one of my goals for this call, for this episode is like, how can I be more like that? How can I avoid that
Mm.
voice or say, thank you very much, voice. I got this one,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I
Um,
was two prominent women. I mean, we're talking
mm,
women, but Michelle Obama, I was just listening to her in an interview, I think it was Jimmy Fallon or something, one late night I was scrolling, and she was in her book, Becoming,
mhm,
she talks about having that feeling
mhm,
almost all the time. I don't think all the time 24/7,
yeah,
but it's something that she's in her 50s now and it hasn't gone away.
yeah,
Maya Angelou, I was listening to
yeah,
her talking to Oprah. She, after writing how many books and how, like, she is like one of the most famous women in the world. And Maya Angelou is saying, yeah,
mm,
I've always had that,
mhm,
that feeling of unworthiness. Who am
mhm,
I? This
mhm,
little girl from wherever she is to
mhm,
be where I am and to tell other people how to live their
mhm,
lives. And I
mhm,
think so knowing that it's not going to probably ever leave us,
mm,
but I think there are ways, and today we're going to delve
mhm,
into how
mhm.
are some ways, how is it manifesting, first of
Yeah.
all, in your life?
Yep. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what are the tools that we can use to swat that imposter fly away?
I like that.
Gosh,
The
right?
imposter fly. I can see the visual right now. I can see it, Sylvia. So let's talk about the manifestations, what it
Yeah.
might look like. So if you're listening and you're kind of like, well, I don't know if I have this or not. There's this other thing. The language they're using is the queen bee syndrome. I find it quite negative, but I think it's important to talk about. This is the idea of women putting women down. And I don't mean this just women, but I've seen it in these scenarios where something bad, and it's a manifestation, in my opinion, of the imposter syndrome. Something goes badly for me as a leader. And so I deflect that towards someone else. So it must be somebody else's fault. And what it looks like is, because I feel like a fraud as a manager, I'm going to control the shit out of this and make everybody's life miserable, right? I'm going to hold on to it all and tighten up the reins, because that'll make me feel safer and less like a fraud. I've seen it. I call them fiefdoms. And, that personal development level for the manager is one of the things that I really love doing as an executive leadership coach, actually, because at the end of the day, our goal has to be to elevate everybody in our team, Sylvia. Nobody can do it all anymore, and nobody at a leadership level can be the bottleneck. How about in your world? What do you see the manifestations of?
Yeah, I would think, in clients, imposter syndrome, not putting yourself out there, not doing, like you're saying, we were talking about that before, that putting yourself out there on video is not your forte. Well, that comes to a little bit of like, who am I to get on? I mean, visibility issues as well. I mean, bravo to you. You're on this show and it's live right now, right? I mean, that we just don't think of it. Yeah, so not taking those opportunities when they arise, like I did. Another story I had when I was in music, I had an opportunity or a request to conduct a musical. Someone was writing a musical. Do you want to conduct it? And I hummed and hawed and decided, no, I didn't know enough music at the time. But I was doing a bachelor's of music. I could just, perhaps didn't know everything. So it's these thoughts that, and you had alluded to that. I work with women who have PhDs and master's degrees, and it's not enough. They still don't know enough. And my question is, well, how much do you need to know to help the person who really doesn't know much about that field that you're working in? Like, how many degrees will it take you? And that is a shocker, right? And it's not putting yourself out there, not asking, not talking about your programs, no Facebook posts, no blog posts, just hiding. It's the hiding.
That's safe.
It's safe. Yeah.
So that's not playing big though, Sylvia, and that's our big thing.
No, it isn't playing big, and it does stem from that fear of rejection, that fear of failure, not saying the right things, like you were talking about. As
I'm listening to this, I'm thinking about my kids, actually, about girls in particular, and boys too, about how can we create supports for them to try things in a safe environment where they sometimes are going to fail, right? I don't think we do enough of that. We control a lot more than we used to in our world, Sylvia?
Yeah, and I remember, like, my son, he had a YouTube channel going up. He has one, and it has tons of really amazing videos, very good. But some of the girls on my daughter's friends laughed at one point, one thing, and he's like, okay, I'm never doing this again. And I was like, no, I want to stop that right away. There will always be people in our lives who won't resonate with what we're doing. Does that mean we have to stop? No, that they're just not your people.
So I think another manifestation, then I want to get into like ways we can address it through the right. We were joking that it was like a cold and flu medicine for imposter syndrome, right? Like what can we do? How can we heal ourselves from imposter syndrome, knowing that it's never going to go away? It's always going to be there. But this idea that, we want to expand, and we want to create a space for learning that is safe. And I think that we need to, as leaders, wherever you are, leader of your house, leader of your team, leader of your business, a space where how you manage accidents, mistakes, failures, troubles. I love the phrase feed forward. You've heard me talk about that a lot, is really, we need to be mindful there, because that behavior is going to be modeled through your house, through your business, through your relationships,
everywhere.
And right? I have to catch myself, like, oh, somebody didn't put out the garbage, right? Oops. Somebody didn't put out the garbage. Like, there's a big difference there. And that gets modeled through all the things we're doing subconsciously. So how can we get our cold and flu remedies going, Sylvia? What can we do for imposter syndrome?
Yeah, I think coming back to where did we feel like where do we have success? Get it out. Spit my words out. Where, that comes like, let's write a list of all of the different accomplishments. There's a great book called cybernetics, and they talk about that
Mm,
coming back to those feelings of success, and that
mm,
you know, how did that make you feel?
mm.
Where were you? And
Wow.
you know, that powerfulness that you felt, let's bring that back into this new situation, right? Because where you are able.
That's really
Yeah.
wait, that's fascinating. So, like, it's like
Mm-hmm.
remembering these the kinetic energies or
Yes.
cyber thingies in the brain?
Rewiring your
Ah.
brain to remember how you felt when you did feel successful, and bringing those feelings along with you into a new situation.
So, does that mean, like, before some major presentation, sit in behind the scenes thinking about how you felt after
The
one of the
last great
last
one
great
that you
ones?
did. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love
Or a
that.
sales call. Remember? Like,
Yeah,
oh, I remember
yeah,
selling and I felt, well, how did I feel on that
yeah,
particular sales call?
yeah,
Remembering it, reliving it in your
yeah,
brain before you get on the
yeah.
call. That's very,
I
very
love that.
powerful.
I'm
Yeah.
taking that one home, Sylvia. That's a great
Mm,
one. Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, we said make a list of all the things we're doing
yeah,
well. I think
yeah, yeah.
reminders.
And
And
maybe sometimes it's just bits too, Sylvia,
mm,
like little steps too. Let's not always think of them as massive, go on live talk shows or things.
no.
What about, like, I know with my 16-year-old, she's gonna be totally mortified that I talked about this, but she often will ask me to make a hair appointment for her. And I'll
Mm,
say, no, 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 here's the phone number. You make the hair appointment, right? So with our staff and with the people around us, how can we set them up to do those little things, right? In my world, hierarchies really matter, right? Who calls matters.
mm.
It's harder to make the call when you're an associate director, but providing those opportunities for your associate and development coordinators to make those calls to those high net worth individuals or those important relationship managers, I think that's a great, what's the word? Tangible example of I trust you.
Yeah, and creating autonomy. I was thinking your families,
Yeah,
moms who tend to do everything for their
yeah.
children and then resent it at the end, but they're
Who?
not letting the spouse or the
Yeah,
children do
yeah,
things because they don't do it their way,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I
Asking
like that. Yeah.
asking for help. It's a tough one, right?
Oh,
Like,
that's a
saying,
big
yeah,
one.
we could do a show on that.
Yeah, yeah,
We could do
yeah. I was
a show on
talking to
that.
a client yesterday about that,
Hmm.
and she could never ask for help.
Yeah.
So now in her
Hmm.
50s, she's starting a business and having to ask for help. We can't do it alone, and it's a lot
Yeah.
more fun doing it with someone
Oh my
else.
God, yes. So
Yeah.
here's another one, another cold and flu remedy: receiving compliments gracefully. So
Mm.
when someone says to you, "Oh my God, I love your show," how often in the past have I said, "Oh, thanks so much. It's just a work in progress. We're only at episode 10," right? Like, all this. Thanks so much. I really appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, or what do you like best about it?
Yeah.
Or did you catch that episode
Yeah.
on XYZ? Yeah, deflecting. So not, yeah, receiving
Yeah.
compliments with grace.
Yeah.
That's it. And a lot of women do that, I think,
Yeah.
too. Yeah,
Well,
yeah, yeah.
we grow up that way, right? We're not supposed to take up space. I mean, I think things are
Mm-hmm.
changing, don't get me wrong, but we grow up that way. We're not supposed to take up space. We're not supposed to laud our accomplishments. This is an aside. Here we go. It's almost 12:20. I hate that we're almost done, but how we receive successful women talking about their accomplishments, we still have a lot of work to be done on that, because when a woman stands up and talks about my multiple degrees and the things I've done and how I've accomplished and the things it's still, we're not used to that as a society and as a
Mm-hmm.
culture.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there are some work to be done on being comfortable there. Women are more likely to be self-deprecating to be received, or deflect, or maybe make a joke about it, right?
Oh,
Much
yes,
more
I've done
comfortable.
that. Yeah, deflecting with humor.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, no, that's good.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So how do we get past imposter syndrome?
Well, what if we reinserted something? What if we talked about change the language that happens at the time? So,
Mm.
somebody in your world asks you to do something. It's out of your comfort zone. And then instead of going, "Oh my God, that's going to be really hard," or "Oh my God, how am I going to do that?" or "Oh my God, I don't have those skills. Gosh, I don't have those skills." What if we inserted something like, "Ooh, I have that funny feeling in my tummy. That must mean I'm growing."
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah. Yeah. We just can't sit with it for too long, huh? I
Yeah,
think it's okay to sit. I mean, we're always saying
yeah,
I like
yeah,
to sleep on things, and
yeah,
that's okay.
yeah.
But yes, when we have that, are we, leaving our zone of comfort? And I think
Mm,
that is an excellent
mhm,
opportunity.
yeah.
But the realization.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But that negative talk, many people have a
Yeah.
negative play role throughout the day. And that's
Mm-hmm.
just going to tell you that you're not good enough. And so
Mm-hmm.
just say no. So
Mm.
just realizing, where is that coming from?
Yeah.
What am I nervous about?
Yeah.
It's probably not going to be that bad, actually.
Well, and something somebody said to me, I haven't shared too much, but I do suffer from anxiety. And, anxiety and excitement are not that far apart, really. And so finding a way to channel that is a really interesting one too, right? So, with those butterflies, right? How can I channel that? How can I acknowledge that and shift it to something that's helpful for me?
I think also another way is knowing and accepting that you
Yeah.
will never be 100% ready to
Yeah.
do anything.
Yeah.
And I think,
Yeah.
moving forward nonetheless
Yeah.
is really important. Like,
Yeah.
and I'll use our show. Were we really ready to launch
No.
into a money show? We are not financial advisors. Our money situations are by far from perfect.
Perfect.
However, there was
Mhm.
we were excited about it. We said, let's try something new, and we
Yeah.
dove into it, and we're having a lot of fun.
Yeah, we sure
And
are.
now it doesn't seem
No,
as big, does it?
no, no.
Right?
I'm
No.
laughing because I'm like, you should have heard me when I was delivering babies. And with my husband used to laugh. I would be like, well, do I do it this way or do I this way? Which is the best angle for grabbing onto the sidebars? Like, that's Jenny, right? That's how I can control this crazy experience that's happening to me, which, by the way, I have no control over. Um,
No. None.
okay, so
None.
takeaways.
Mm-hmm.
Homework. What's our homework? So what do we want to talk about?
Well, before we get
Yeah.
into the homework, I think a lot of times where we feel like an imposter is
Mm-hmm.
when we're comparing each other,
Mm.
ourselves to someone else. When we compare ourselves to someone else,
Yeah.
that negative thought starts to,
Yeah.
encroach. And then, of course, we're going to feel like an
Yeah.
imposter. So maybe part of the homework, yes, realizing
Yeah.
what is that little voice telling
Yeah.
us,
Yeah.
knowing that that is not ever going to go away.
Yeah.
However, the comparison, I think one part of your homework, stop. If you are one to compare
Mm-hmm.
yourself to someone else,
Mm-hmm.
just stop doing it. Just
Yeah.
stop comparing.
Stop
Like,
it.
there's always someone going to be better than me. However, I am the best at what I do
Mm-hmm.
because there is nobody else like me.
Mm-hmm.
I am me. There are
Mm-hmm.
people talking about finances better than me. There are better coaches than me. There are better doulas than me. However, no one's going to deliver it the way I deliver it.
Yeah.
Right? And I think
Absolutely,
that for
Sylvia.
me, when
Yeah.
I have those feelings, those
Yeah.
butterflies come up, I remember,
Yeah.
I remind
Yeah.
myself of that.
You have your own way of doing things, Sylvia.
And I do, and I get caught up in saying, maybe I shouldn't laugh so much on my lives, and maybe I shouldn't smile so much. Maybe I should be more serious. But I was like, you know what? That's me. That's just
Yeah.
me. I like
Yeah.
to tell jokes, and I do it partly
Yeah.
through humor, and
Yeah.
I have to like be
Yeah.
myself,
Yeah.
not someone
And
else.
when you do that, you align, right? Like, it feels very natural, and somehow those voices sort of fade a little bit because you don't need to validate anything. You're just being who you are. I mean, the word gut, the core gut of who you are, and trusting that gut, I think is really, and people notice it. Like, authenticity is not something we figure out up here. It's something we figure out down here, whether people
And
are
you're
real.
never, again, no, you're not gonna, not everyone's gonna like you.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's okay. But there are going to be tons of people who will, right?
Yeah. That's
And
hard.
That
hard.
is hard. That is hard, but that stops. That's part of that imposter syndrome. Who am I? I'm not going to like, they're going to listen, and they're not going to like what I'm going to say. And who cares, right?
And I'm going to adapt like a pretzel to whatever comes out so that I can meet their expectation of X, Y, and Z, right?
Yeah.
That's another great point. So we talked about stop comparing. We talked about just taking a minute to notice, where are you feeling less than in your business or in your personal life or whatever, and how does that play out as a manifestation of it? I love this last one, which is stop thinking that you aren't good enough and focus your energy on helping others. Because every time I go back to serving others, I always feel great and I get out of my own way.
Yes, and it's not about you.
No.
There are so many people who need what you have to give.
Yeah.
And they're,
Yeah.
and if, and we've done work with coaches on this. This is not
Yep.
something that we just sit here in our offices
Yep.
and
Yep.
mull over. I mean, there are
Mhm.
group coaching programs, there are private coaches to help, with it. We do this work with our clients as well. And I believe, to grow and up level and play bigger, we do need to be uplifted and, and to be shown that they're, that little voice, she needs to be swatted away.
I like that. Goodbye, imposter fly.
Or that queen bee.
The queen bee. Bye-bye. See you later. Let's uplift. I really love that word, actually. Thank you for that, Sylvia. And then next week, we've got a doozy for you. My friend and colleague, Kate Arnold, is going to talk about a woman's relationship to money. And Kate, if you've heard some other episodes, she is the person that came into my life to help me organize my monthly finances so that I could save for a kitchen. It's a do not miss episode. And she's also talking a lot about how we reinvent ourselves as we get older, which is a really fascinating conversation, Sylvia.
That is amazing. I love that. That's going to be exciting. Thank you, everyone, for listening. If you're catching us in the replay, let us know, if you have questions or you need some help, you just reach out. Where can you reach out? Here you go. Jenny can be reached at chavender.com. Jenny's got a new website coming up soon.
Yeah,
Is it live? Oh, it's live. Go and take a look.
Yeah.
You can reach me at sovibrant.com. Yeah. We go live every Thursday at 12 p.m. So grab a sandwich. Thank you all for being here today. Please share with your friends and family and subscribe and do all those. Yeah. There's a little bell, apparently. You can get notifications. If you press the little bell, you get notifications, Jenny.
I got to find the bell. I love bells. And just go out there. Play big. Don't hide behind the imposter syndrome.
No, you've got this. All right, everyone. Have a great week.
Ciao.
Bye.